Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Fulco. I'm the CEO for Cosmetologist Chicago, and welcome to Huddle Time. Today, we have the great pleasure of having a very dear friend, Mr. Nick Arrojo, join us today. And we're very excited about it. We were going to be talking about some very interesting topics, one of which is Nick's event coming up on April 5th, right here in Chicago, Illinois. So please write that down. Okay, before we get started and bring Nick on, just a few housekeeping items. I'm here in Rosemont, Illinois, the new home for America's Beauty Show. And on September 11th, 12th, and 13th of 2021, we intend to have the family reunion of our professional beauty industry. And we hope to see each and every one of you here in Rosemont, Illinois at America's Beauty Show. We're so excited. The entire team at Cosmetologist Chicago, the entire board has been so focused throughout COVID to make sure that this treasure of our industry, America's Beauty Show, continues on. And we're very excited to get right back at it September 11th, 12th, and 13th here in Rosemont, Illinois. Tickets are going to start going on sale in the month of April. You can find them at americasbeautyshow.com. Oh, and one other thing. At americasbeautyshow.com, you can also find online education, CEU online education, as well as our new digital marketplace where you can purchase show deals now 365 days a year. Okay, enough of that, enough of the housekeeping, and let's get to the man of the hour. Mr. Nick Arrojo, again, he's a personal friend and he's a thought leader in our professional beauty industry and really in the beauty industry as a whole on a global basis. Nick runs a very successful salon business out of New York, as well as an academy, and has his own line of hair care products. In addition to all that, Nick travels around the world educating licensed beauty professionals, not only technically, but also in business and in spirit. And with that, I would like to welcome our guest today on Huddle Time, Mr. Nick Arrojo.
Hey, good morning, Frank. So great to be here.
Welcome, Nick. Great to have you here. Nick, I have to tell you, I love your hair.
It's because of the pandemic, my hair has grown and I kind of like it long it's like the final hurrah, you know, it's like you never get the chance to grow it. It's not strong enough, but because of the pandemic, it's got longer. So now I got a little man bun, which I'm hanging on to for dear life.
Well, there you go. That's great. Listen, I just want you to do one thing for me. I know I tell you this every time, but it's such a big deal in my house. Would you say hello to my mom?
I sure will. Hey, Mom, how are you?
There What's you go. Lucille.
Hey, Lucille.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Lucille. Thanks a lot for all your support.
Oh, boy, she asks about you all the time. She's just like, Nick Arrojo. I tell you this all the time because it's a big deal in my house. So awesome. Thank you for doing that. Nick, thanks so much for joining us. And, we're so excited to hear that you're coming to Chicago on April 5th. So tell us a little about it. It's called, Up Close with Nick?
Yeah, before the pandemic, we started education's been changing. The world of hairdressing has been changing and morphing for the last, it's constantly in flux, but certainly in the last few years, pre-pandemic, there were changes in our industry.
Yeah.
And I started going out there with what I call the Up Close with Nick tour, which was a little bit more Nick-centric because that's the way the world was turning. So it's more like and the events was kind of a little bit of hair, a little bit of business, a little bit of inspiration, and also a little Q&A. Mm-hmm. So it was much more intimate. And as we just passed the 12-month anniversary of the beginning of the pandemic, I realized and recognized that it's important for us to try to kick ourselves into what will be the new beginning after this shift, this massive shift. Mm-hmm. So I'm back out there. I've got about 4 dates on the calendar already in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And Chicago's one of my favorite cities. I've got so many great friends there. It's such a brilliant place. And I'm dying to get back on April the 5th. And I'll be doing my in-person Up Close with Nick class. And I'm excited because I believe that it's up to us to usher in the new beginning. And I don't think we can do that without being up close and personal. So it's on April.
I think that's great.
I can't wait to be there.
Yeah. So just some quick things about the event. It's April 5th. It's from 6:30 to 8.
Yep.
The ticket price, Nick, it's inexpensive. It's $25.
Yeah, $25. Yeah, 50
and
people.
it's at space 1858.
Yes. Yeah. We found a nice location. It's a street level. It's an empty space. It's space 1858. And with 50 chairs, it'll be very close, very personal, and very intimate. So hopefully we'll get to see some of your friends coming to our event too. And the tickets are available on EROSIOPro.com.
EROSIOPro.com.
Dead easy. You just sign up. It's $25. Really, we're just covering the cost of the venue.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, like you said, so much has changed. And so many folks have really, I think, reached out and have done a great job in trying to help others. One of the things that just always strikes me about our industry is the value of relationships. And, people say, well, with digital, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure where it's going. I would ask you this. What inspires you to get out, to put yourself out there, to say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's how I see the world. What inspires you to do that for our industry?
It's a great question. First and foremost, when the pandemic happened, not being able to do hair really left a big hole and a big void in my personal world.
Yeah.
Just the pleasure of being able to touch and create and to look and to be in the beauty business and to be able to experience all of the simple things that were which we'd done for the last 35 years. And all of a sudden I wasn't doing clients, I wasn't connecting hair, I wasn't practicing my art, I wasn't practicing my creativity. So first and foremost, I was like, I got to get back to what I know, because that's what I love.
Right.
Then I also believe that we all have to play a part. Everyone's got a part to play in what the life that we live is going to be. So from a business owner, from someone that's been very intertwined in this industry and learning, I have so many people that work for me, with me, around me. I think it's very important to get in the game. And I think it's very important to try to encourage the next kind of iteration of what our industry is going to be all about. And the only way to really to do that is to get out and about and to be in it. So I think 12 months was long enough for me to sit on the sidelines. And I think now it's time to get back out there. And the inspiration is, what's the legacy going to be? What do you want? I have a voice and I want to use it. I have an influence. I want to use it. And I believe that, our industry kind of needs that honest, direct, straight up approach. Just by sheer experience, I've been in this for such a long time. And I think it's important for me to be able to share that inspiration and that education, so that the future of our industry can be navigated or can be exposed to, a lot of experience. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to.
I think it's great. And, when you talk to folks, they'll talk about the generational differences between, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen X, the baby boomers, what have you. And the whole emergence of digital and presence of social media in our lives and how we do business and how we communicate. But I mean, how do you mentor the next generation to truly treasure and value relationships that are built not just digitally, but personally? Because I mean, you have a school, you have a large staff, so you're working with younger folks right now, like you see them. So how do you bridge that gap for them? How do you help them see that?
Well, it's a difficult challenge, for the simple reason that, you wake up one day, Frank, and you realize you've been doing this a long time and the world changed around you. You know, you look in the mirror and you say, "What's this?" It's like, "What's this?" Oh, it's gray hair. Where did that come from? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it's not easy. And then, of course, you know where I really get to see the change in the community, in the people, is in the school, because I'm getting teenagers coming into our industry. I live in one of the most diverse environments in America,
Yep.
New York. If you look at the way the world is turning right now, and globally, we're all in a new spot. No one's escaped the pandemic.
No.
And you know, in America, there are so many changes, and the kind of, in some ways, you know, there's a great divide from one side to the other on a political sphere. Yeah. There's a lot of identity issues. There's a lot of social issues. There's a lot of things that are at the forefront. And I've always said that hairdressers were before social media, hairdressers were the social connectors, because
Absolutely.
people sit in our chair and from all different backgrounds, walks of life, and they confide, they listen, they ask. It's kind of like the relationship that we have. People say, "Oh, a good hairdresser is like a therapist." Yeah. And it's kind of like that, because it's not just the skill of the service, there's a communication. So I think hairdressers are very much part of the community. And for me, you know, certainly being classed as non-essential didn't feel great. So I'm very inspired to make sure that what I do is essential, and I think that there is a great thing for me to be able to. I don't know whether it's. I just share my point of view. Yeah. I don't want to give my influence. I just want to say share my point of view, and I share my point of view, and I see where that takes me, because I'm also living in the real world. I've got a business to run. My business has been affected dramatically because of the pandemic. The financial impact has been huge. I'm hiring people right now, and you're hiring people to work from home.
Right.
And that's not the world I've lived in.
Right.
That's not the world I've lived in, but the mentality is, yeah. And I'm noticing too, as I'm starting to negotiate with new people coming into the business, the different mental attitude that was once had has changed dramatically.
How so? How so?
People can re-navigate. It's very easy when you're face to face with a human being and you're talking. It's direct, but because of social media and because of the internet and because we connect digitally, you can change the expectation, because it's much easier to write something when you've thought about it than it is to directly communicate face to face. One of the things that I've noticed very recently, as we're starting to build our team, people that I'm looking to hire, they say one thing, and then once you start to offer them the job, the expectation changes. And it's easy for people to do that, because it's not like you're on the telephone and you have to have that confrontation on the phone. You can say, "Hey, we'll agree to this," but then the goalposts change as people start to feel like, "Oh, I've got this job now. I've got this role. I've got this now. Let me make sure it's okay for me. Can I work from home? Can I get more money than I asked for? Because now you've offered me a role." So now I'm starting to see this new navigation of how people interpret offers, and it's unique and interesting. I'm living it daily. So, you know, it's like I say, I'm trying to rebuild a business that has been smashed by the pandemic in a city that's been smashed by the pandemic. I don't think there's any other environment in America that I know of. We have less than 10% of the workforce coming into New York City. So you're talking about 90% of the people that used to come to create that thriving environment. They're not there right now. So I'm living in this unique environment and trying to kickstart. You walk on the streets of New York City, it's quiet. You walk into my salon or my school, because they're connected.
Sure.
This thriving community. And at lunchtime, they're all hanging out together, because and it's kind of like when you walk into my threshold, life becomes more normal. But when you walk out, you're like, oh my God, this is New York, but it's not got the same vibe or the same feel.
Sure. Let's talk about the new normal. Let's bridge over, because I know that's a hot spot, a sore spot, New York and the state that it's in, because it is down so much. So I want to try to bridge over to the new normal, that little cocoon, that island called Arrojo, where when you go in, the energy's great, the spirit's great, folks are connecting at an emotional level, they're connecting in person, and we're touching people. So let's talk about the touching people, because I think there's something that I've observed in my limited experience, in salons, is that, one of the things that research has shown is that as a client, one of the points that folks love the most when they go to their experience is the wash house, the shampoo service. And, but that's also a point in which you're close. There's potential for, COVID spreading and what have you. And that is like a big void right now, at least in my opinion, in the salon service, because that's like a really intimate experience for people. They really connect, they unwind, they decompress, they transition from the rush to the experience. How do we fill that void? Because there's that, I'm going to go to one more, and there's that void, and the other void is retail. Those are two big voids that are in the salon. How do we get those back?
Well, I think number one, it's been proven now, because New York had very stringent measures with tracing and tracking. So it's been proven now that salons are not super spreaders.
Right.
I've been cutting hair since June without being vaccinated, wearing a mask, goggles, apron. And I've done that for the last, it seems like 9 months now. Right. Now we're getting vaccinated and people are getting vaccinated. So there's a change in that. But I've been doing that safely during this whole pandemic and the second wave, as they talked about the second wave through the holidays. So I've done that, and we know that salons are not super spreaders. Number two, you'll be surprised that when a client comes into our salon, they feel incredibly safe. And I don't believe that is much of an issue. In fact, we're starting to, there's a little bit more interaction, because the way I work my business, I have new talent. So a client's going to be touched by more than just one person. At the beginning, I was doing all the shampoos and I was doing all the blow dries. Now I've got somebody to support me. They do the shampoo. So while we minimize the interaction, we're actually trying to get back to normal, because it's normal to be able to touch. Right. And we have to play a part in that, albeit very safely. So when someone comes into my salon, they go straight to the bathrooms. They have to wash their hands. And then once they're in my salon, it's a very safe space. The shampoo experience is a fantastic experience, and it's that experience of touch. And then, of course, me as the stylist, doing the actual service, I'm super close. And in some ways, I'm seeing clients now for the very first time. I'm sure so many hairdressers are seeing clients now. They've been vaccinated. They're ready to come out of the house. It's 12 months. Their hair's 4 inches longer or 14 inches longer. Their hair's got...
They've got a man bun?
Yeah, I've got my own man bun. And we're having a beautiful time actually getting people to feel a little bit more normal. Right. When it comes to the retail piece, don't forget, not only has the client been experienced this pandemic, but the hairdresser has too. So the hairdresser is also living in this world. And in some regards, I think that it's very important for us now on the retail side of things to be able to really share what we're using. The clients are looking to get back to a normal environment. When I did hair yesterday, and I have to tell you, the people that came to see me, and there was about 4 that I can remember, that felt like they were back to being normal again. Because all of a sudden now, we're not just doing something for the health aspect of the hair, but we're also doing something for the emotional state of the human.
Yeah.
And I was introducing clients to new products, and they were taking new products. They've not been spending as much. Money may be a little bit tighter now for everybody. Yeah, this is not a world where everyone's, even though the economy is relatively good on the stock market,
Right.
we have to realize that there's people are very focused on what the future is going to look like. So I do believe that our consumers are prepared to purchase and use things if they feel that it's going to bring value to them. And that's really what I'm trying to do. In fact, I have a team meeting on Friday, and a big piece of the team meeting is going to be, let's get back to encouraging our clients and educating them. Let's educate them, because I'm doing Zooms. I did a Zoom yesterday. I do Zoom consultations. I pay for the Zoom you have to pay for a Zoom consultation. And it's been brilliant. And we're doing obviously the color kits, and that's been brilliant too. A lot of people have changed their habits, but I think that the habits are that they're looking for the next step in the one was more, let's accommodate our future.
Yeah.
Now the next thing is, let's navigate the future and what we're going to look like.
So let's go right there then. So what do you see in the next 6, 12, 18 months in our industry? Like how do you see the world for our industry? 6, 12, 18 months.
I think that what is going to, I think what's going to happen is the clients are going to continue to slowly start to come back to the salon. The visit's going to be stretched out even further. Therefore, we have to reevaluate our pricing policy, because I think if they're going to come back less, which is going to happen, we need to reevaluate our pricing policy, because we've got to succeed and exist too.
Yeah.
And I think that, the caliber of work has to get to a much higher level so that you can really earn that value. The value is going to be more, and the quality's got to be better so that we can accommodate all of those things. That's what I see.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then Nick, from the, so let's talk about holiday, which is one of the biggest seasons for the salon. So good news is, we should be well on our way to being a vaccinated society. So what are you thinking about, or what would you recommend for holiday, for salons now can start thinking about their retail, start thinking about their experience, start building up for holiday? Like what would you see for holiday coming up? I know it might seem like a long ways away, but it's really not.
To me, I listen, I live in the future. Yeah. Like if you say, oh, Nick, it's March, I say, no, it's not, it's April. If you say,
Right.
I'm living a month ahead.
Right.
I do realize how fast time goes. I think before we think about holiday, I think we have to think about summer. And I believe that, once you get through summer, then you start to think about holiday. So for me, I'm really thinking about what the summer is going to entail. I'm planning to do a price revision right now. I'm planning to develop more training for my team right now, so that we can be really, we can make our point of difference for ourselves by the caliber of our work and by the way in which we service people. Yeah. A long time ago, there was a guy called Jean-Louis Reed. Sorry?
Service people.
Service people. Jean-Louis Reed, he was a very famous French hairdresser. And he did a survey in his salons across France. And he said, in the first 30 seconds, we found from our survey, and we're talking over 200 salons, and this is going back to the 90s. He said, in the first 30 seconds, a client decides whether they're going to come back to the salon or not. So from the minute that they walk in, they decide whether they're going to come back. So I thought about that long and hard, and it's always kind of like been kind of tattooed on my brain. When a consumer walks into your place before they get this, before they even speak to somebody, before they even speak to the hairdresser, before they get their hair done, they're already determining whether they're going to come back. So I used to think about that. I was like, that is such an interesting dynamic. So I think that from a salon owner who wants to welcome consumers into that environment, we have to make sure that the level of service from the minute the person enters the door to the way they leave, every touch point's got to be done perfectly. And I have to say that's the challenge, and that's what I'm working on. It's the greeting, it's the hello. I'm experiencing part of this pandemic has made me really look at my business much deeper because I have lost a lot of hairdressers.
Sure.
It's given everybody a chance to have a pause, and our industry has become very independent.
Mm-hmm.
It's been
even more independent.
It was moving independent, and now it's become even more independent. If you're not working and you're forced out of work for 3 months, 2 months, gives you a chance to think, and it gives you a chance to reevaluate. And certainly because the industry has been moving in an independent way, more and more people are getting on the bandwagon. But the independent route is really good from a fiscal tax perspective, but it's not really great from an education perspective.
All right, let's go right there.
Isolation.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go right there. You're nailing it, Nick. You're right there. Okay, so let's talk about education. Let's shift, because you're right. It's become even more individualistic. Folks are thinking more about just themselves. Okay.
Yep.
So where do you see education from the digital perspective and the in-person perspective? Because Nick, you are doing both. Like you're living it.
It's been.
So how do you see those two coexisting going forward and ongoing?
Before the pandemic, we were already moving into a business model that I'd said, when you come to hands-on education at Arrojo, you don't sit down and you don't watch. All the watching's done at home. Okay. Then the pandemic came along, and it's propelled us into the fact that, hey, no one could come in person. So we've been very fortunate enough and very focused that during this whole thing, we created our own digital studio, completely interactive. And because of Zoom and software technology like this, yeah, I can actually watch people and I can train them without being able to touch them. So that's been really spectacular. In reference to, is that going to be enough? It's not going to be enough. You have to have the hands-on. Right. You have to have that personal touch. You know, having the school, as soon as we shut down, the first job was getting the school open for distance learning. Right. Then we went into, okay, we can do distance learning for practical, which is like, how do you teach somebody how to do a one-length line through Zoom?
Right.
And not just one person, but maybe 10. And I have to tell you, that challenge has been something that we've embraced, and we've done a fantastic job. And I put in-person classes back on the schedule in my location in October and September and October. And I had sold out classes.
Sure.
So you've got to use both tools now. They're both very viable. I believe that education is the key to success. Hands-on education is critical. And I believe that because of technology, we can actually do both. And but I do believe that if you are in person, that's when you learn the most. But you've got to have it.
Do you have an idea of, like, 30% in person, 50% digital, 20% look and learn? Like, do you have like a feel in your mind of like what folks should be thinking about? Like, okay, I'm oversaturated on digital. I need to get a little bit more of this, maybe a little bit less of that. Do you have any thoughts on
that? From a standpoint of percentage wise, I think if you're an independent hairdresser, you should be looking to spend 5% of your income on education to continually develop. And I think it's important that rather than you should plan your education. If If I was an independent hairdresser, I'd be planning my education out, and I would say to myself, okay, I've got 4 quarters in a year,
Yeah.
and that means I'm going to do, I'm going to have a curated educational plan for myself. That's
Right.
what people need to do, and they need to find trusted resources. Now, everyone's getting into online education. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
The question is which one do you like the most, and which one are you going to follow? The challenge with education is if you jump from one to another to another to another, what can happen is you're getting a lot of stimulation, but you're not learning the finer details or the finer points. If you choose one or two people to be who's going to mentor you, then you're going to get to that finer understanding of those refined points, because a bob's a bob's a bob's a bob's a bob. We all know what a bob is.
Yeah.
The question is what is your approach to that particular, that's one particular lesson. What's going to be your approach and who you're going to learn from? And if you learn from, if you have a couple of people that you'll follow that you'll learn from, I think you're going to be much better than if you go from one to another to another to another, if that
Nick,
makes sense.
that is so insightful. I mean, because that's mentorship. I mean, you referenced the person, I can't remember the name, the person that you said that said the first 90 seconds.
Jean-Louis David.
Yeah. You've had mentors in your career.
Yes.
And that's helped shape who you are and how you look at business and how you look at your craft. And I think that's great advice for people that are really relying on digital as their primary vehicle for education. And if they are working independently, you know, in a salon suite or what have you, they need mentors. Like we all need mentors.
We sure do. And there's a great community out there that is developing. There's a great, some great women up in the other side of the country. They're developing a mentorship program, where you can actually, you can choose a mentor and get mentored. Everything's available online. The amount of stuff that's moving right now is right there. But the reality is you as an individual have to determine what your year is going to look like and how you're going to get to where you want to be. So
right.
where do you want to be? It's really hard when you're on your own to raise your price because it's all on you. It's really hard when you're on your own to develop your business. People are running straight from school to ownership. And that's a very difficult thing to manage, while it is achievable, because you need to learn from people within our industry so that you can navigate the highs and the lows.
Yeah. And that mentorship and that learning needs to take place. I think key thing is digitally, there's a lot of access, and in person, so that there's that connection. So let's talk a little bit about the connection and you're up close. So have you had one of these up close with Nick events yet?
Not since the pandemic. Before the pandemic, we were doing them.
Okay, so Chicago will be your first post-pandemic. And
yes.
Not post, but after it started.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we're honored, that you chose Chicago. That's great. So, I mean, we're so excited about it.
I've got so many great friends in Chicago.
What are you expecting to see? Like, I think this is because, I mean, Nick, you're a salon owner, you're a business owner, I mean, you're a thought leader. But what are you expecting to see out in the crowd? Like when people finally come back together.
Happy faces, community, connection. That's what I'm looking forward to see. That's what I expect to see. I think it's a slow beginning to get back to normal. Yeah. And
you keep saying back to normal. What is back to normal in your mind? What does that picture look like? There's something
not being scared to breathe somebody else's air.
Oh. Love it.
That's what being normal is. Being able to not feel like I've got to cross the street when I see someone coming down the street. Yeah. So that's what to me normal is, being able to laugh and see somebody smile, and to be able to, maybe, touch someone on the arm, or, be shoulder to shoulder and have that spirited debate where you can actually hear them rather than, it's like, South Park and Kenny, you can't even understand what he's saying. So to me, normal is that, and I'm just beginning to try to make people feel comfortable, because for me, I look at this 12 months in, being very aware of what's gone on, being very aware of what the experience has been, and being very aware of what the future is. We work one-on-one. There's no distance between me and my client.
Right.
And the beauty community is all about that, whether it's makeup, whether it's hair, whether it's nails, whatever it may be. We're close. Yeah. Right. So I am now doing this first and foremost to bridge that gap, to get us back to a new sense of normal, up close. That's why it's called up close, you know?
Yeah, I love it.
And I'm sharing my experiences, you know, sharing my, I want to share my experiences. And I, you know, the joy is when you'll see somebody talking to somebody else and they don't even know them, but they're connecting. Yeah. The new friends that you make. Why am I going out on the road? To make new friends. Why am I going out on the road? To see old friends. Am I going to change the world? Not at all. But I've spoken to so many salon owners, hairdressers. We need that sense of community. If the leaders of our industry are not out there leading, then we're leaving the rest of the hair community to navigate on their own. Sometimes they might not want the influence, but the influence is necessary. And sometimes they might not listen to it, but they might hear one or two things. Just the same way that I said to you about Jean-Louis David 25, 30 years ago, telling me something, that piece of knowledge has stayed with me. And I pick up nuggets of knowledge all the time. So
I had that exact conversation probably 3 times last week.
Nice.
That exact conversation. Like, we have to get out there and help people come back together, engage each other, learn from one another, because that's what's going to make a difference. All right, I'm going to use this as a little...
If you go and connect and then you wake up the following day and you're fine and nothing happened to you, then you'd be more inclined to go back again. So I don't think it's going to be like, I know that you have your show, and I know that they're talking about trade shows and certain elements and certain things. And certainly, you know, in the salons, when it gets busy now, I'm noticing that it's more comfort when it's busy. Whereas when we began, it was like everybody stay as far apart as possible. So it's something that we have to do, and the leaders will have to help our industry in that capacity.
Nick, all right, I'm going to ask you for some advice, because you're very knowledgeable. So we've got our show coming up September 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Yep.
We're working with the public health department here in Rosemont to make sure we have all the safety protocols in. We're going to have parties on Saturday night and Sunday night, and we're hosting them outside at the entertainment district, which is just right over there. So we're going to have bands, so everybody can be outside breathing fresh air. Okay. And we're really excited about everything.
Is it going to be like Florida?
I don't know about that. You'll have to wear your mask. But what advice would you give to me and the team at America's Beauty Show and our board for what you would want to see at our show in September?
I think that my advice to you would be plan appropriately so that you have quality rather than quantity. Look at how many people you estimate. If it was me, I'd say, listen, if we used to have 40, 50, 60,000 people come to this show, maybe this year we're going to have 10, 15, 20,000 people come to this show. Now let's plan our classes accordingly so that we have quality over quantity, and really focus on trying to make every class and every moment a success. That is what I would, that's what I would suggest. Rather than have too much that you can't even, it's like a salad that's got everything in it. The salad doesn't taste good. So if you have it more curated, that's what I would suggest. And I would plan for each class to be busy, promote the classes so that they can be busy, but you have to kind of factor in how many people are actually going to to turn up. I know, and I'm sure that you have vendors. I know I'm going to be there. I'm excited to be able to share. So that's super exciting. But I think that, you don't want to have rooms and classrooms that don't have enough participants in. Let's go for quality over quantity. And if people can't get in because we went for quality over quantity, then they'll be more excited to come back the next time so they can get into that quality rather than quantity. So obviously plan appropriately, and I think that you'll do phenomenally well. I also do believe, obviously, American Beauty Show is it's iconic in this country. Yeah, and I've been going there for probably 25 years since I've been in the country. And people want to get back to a place where they can have community, connection, and inspiration. And we also want to be able to go out there and find out what's new.
Right.
Because where do you find out what's new?
Right.
Yeah, it's like you can't find out what's new online. It finds you. People pay to find you. You don't go and find them. They pay to find you. If I turn on my Instagram, something's going to come into my Instagram feed. If I turn my Facebook, something's going to come into my Facebook feed. They find me. Whereas when you go to a show like your show, your event, you go there to find out what is hot, what is happening, and what's next. So I believe that people are ready for that, and they're excited for that. But again, I definitely say quality over quantity.
Well, I can guarantee you that, Nick. That's the strategy we're following, and I'm so happy to hear it. That wasn't a setup question for all of you that are out there. Nick and I did not discuss that question, and but that's exactly where we're headed. And Nick, I think it goes back to the quality piece of you coming here to Chicago on April 5th. We are so excited to see you. And one last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Arrojo.
Yep.
Your line of hair care. Nick, I mean, obviously you're all about mentoring. You're all about leadership. You're all about helping others, and you've got a great business. Talk to us about your line of products. Talk to us about that.
Well, it's been a journey. Yeah. And from my experience, when I started my brand Arrojo, it was like, I said, okay, this is what I have learned so much over the years. We went from a salon to a school and education company into a product company. And we have two, because we also reinvented the perm, which is American Wave. So we've developed all of these things. And we decided to be direct as a business model and into distributorship. We realized that distributorship wasn't it didn't fulfill us as much. And we were moving back into being a direct business just before this whole thing happened. Mm-hmm. During the last 12, 14 months, I think people have got to know each other more in some ways because of their social output. Certainly, some people have grown more fond of me, and some people have grown less fond of me. Yeah, they've decided which way to go, what they like, what they don't like. Arrojo as a brand is a community. We're not selling shampoo. We're selling community. That's what we're selling. It's a club. And in that club, people connect by retailing Arrojo product, American Wave. They even connect, even if they don't sell our product, through education. They become fans of our education and our culture. We are going to be strengthening that process. And I believe that the days ahead are very, very bright.
Good.
While this is a difficult moment, I believe integrity, honesty, values, knowing what you stand for. We're not trying to be everything for everyone. We are, I suppose, with it being my business and my brand, I'm kind of doubling down on my honesty, my belief system, and the relationships. So when I'm talking to salon owners, which I do on a daily basis, it's a conversation that is like-minded. If you become part of the Arrojo network through retailing Arrojo product or American Wave, you're connected to a rich community of very passionate salon owners and hairdressers, where our objective is to support, create, grow, develop, evolve each other. And we all know that we can help each other win. And when one of us wins, we all win. So Arrojo has become more of that than ever before. And I'm continuing to be incredibly hopeful because, Frank, there's new brands coming out every week.
Yep.
Every week there's a new brand.
Yep.
Yeah, Arrojo is not new. But I tell you what, Arrojo, it has history and it has a past, and people can check on that. And if they want that, like real, they want to be a part of something, we're here to be a part of, because our community is a rich community. And the fact that we, sell products, and the fact that we kind of educate, and salon owners, the other night we did a Zoom call where 10 different salon owners all got together. Now you have this, I think it's called house party. Is it called house party?
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. I call it house party because I suppose I was into house music. Clubhouse. These things are fantastic for people to connect and communicate. Mm-hmm. But Arrojo, we're a community, and if people want to get involved in Arrojo, then they're getting we're not selling shampoo, we're selling culture and shampoo and styling products and education. They're all together and inclusive, and that's really what we're all about. And
Nick, I'll throw one more in there. You're also selling mentorship, because that is so neat.
Yeah,
and Nick, I have to tell you, I'd follow you into a dark cave because I believe in you. Seriously, I believe in you, and you're so passionate about our industry and what it's all about, and you've got your pulse on the people as well as the technical. And I'm just so honored to have you on the show, and to be your friend, and obviously be on this journey with you through our industry. So
thanks.
Any last comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, Hair Voyage was the app. It's all about mentorship. You should check that out. Some great people that I've met, and it's about mentorship. And I have been in some dark caves in Chicago. The next time I go in, we'll be going in together. and just Frank, you've been, you're new, really. How long have you been with the America's Beauty Show?
I'm pausing because through COVID, time has just become just over a year.
Yeah, so you joined
in this role, and I was on the board before.
Right, I know that, but now you're actually running. Exactly. You're mentoring the show. And just like me, and we've sat and had lunch together when you was past employment, where you was working. You're an industry veteran, just like me. I think that the show is going to be fantastic, and your passion and what I hear about everything that you're doing and your approach, I think is super exciting. And I'm looking forward for the hair community to experience what you're bringing, because I know that the board is very special. I know that with your leadership in that community, I think America's Beauty Show is going to go to new heights. I'm excited to be back at Rosemont, because I do believe it is situated in a way where everyone is going to feel so much closer together. It was exciting. I'm old enough to know when it was Rosemont, it was exciting for the show to go down to Chicago, but it was so far away. Right. Now we're going to feel so much closer. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you are putting together and your accomplishments with your team. And I think that's very honorable, and I think it's exciting, and I can't wait to be a part of it.
All right. Up close, April 5th in Chicago. See you there. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nick Arrojo, on behalf of our board of directors, and to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on Huddle Time. Thank you, Nick, and we'll see you on April 5th. Good night.